Hello, today we are going to create a leaf line design in a grid pattern. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to be working on a 10 by 16 sheet of paper, and we're going to have to use our ruler. It's going to be really important that you measure this properly. So we are going to make our grid 2 inches by 2 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is line our ruler up on the top of the paper, and we're going to go to the 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then we're going to do the same thing down on the bottom. Line it up on the bottom. And go 2, 4, 6, and 8. Then you can take your ruler and line it up with the little mark you made on the top and the bottom. This ruler is kind of warped. Hold on to the middle of the ruler nice and tight and lightly make your line. You do not need to make your lines really dark because you may need to erase if you make a mistake. And then we're going to go across. So I'm going to line up my ruler again, and I'm going to mark 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Do the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to connect our marks. And so this is what your grid should look like when you get it finished. Let's see if I have it in the camera here. All right. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to draw a leaf design. I will give you a leaf to look at for your design. I am just going to randomly do mine from the image that I have that I found that we're using this from. So it's kind of something like this. And the accuracy of the leaf, I'm not too concerned with, because right now what we are doing is just practicing making lines. That's what I would like us to do, but your leaf does need to be pretty large on your paper. If you make it too small, then you're going to have lots of erasing to do, and that might erase some of our grid patterns, so that wouldn't be good. Alright, so there's my leaf. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make the veins of the leaf. There's usually a main one that goes straight down, and then some that probably go into these parts. Like I said, I'm just doing this from something that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at a real leaf, so mine might not be as realistic. And that's okay, because this is a design. It's not meant to be an exact leaf. We're just using it as a design element. Okay, now what we are going to be doing is we are going to be using Sharpies, and we are going to be using skinny markers to color this in. The inside of the leaf is going to have color, and the outside of the leaf is going to be black and white. We're not going to outline these grid marks. We're going to leave them alone, and so we're going to use skinny markers. I will show you how you do it. Inside of each space, it's going to be a different color, so we're going to have to change out the color every time we go from the veins to the outside of the leaf to the pattern inside, and we're going to be using some different types of lines inside of our leaves. I will give you a pattern ideas sheet, so it's a bunch of different patterns or lines that we can use inside of our leaf and on the outside of the grid pattern. I think I'm going to start first with the leaf, and then I will do the outside design lastly, so I will get right back with that. All right, now here are some pattern ideas or some line ideas that I will give you this sheet. There is some different types of patterns on both sides, so it's kind of nice to have a little idea of different types of lines we can make. Sometimes you start running out of ideas. Now for the leaf, I said we're going to be doing it in colors. I would like you to use bright colors. We're not going to use black because we're only using black for the outside. And remember, this is meant to be a design element. We're not really trying to make it like the color of a leaf. So I would like you to use a variety of colors. So to get started, what we are going to do is we are going to trace the outside of the leaf, not the grid pattern. We're never going to be tracing the grid pattern, so I am tracing the outside of the leaf and this part of the vein only in this little section. So I'm using this grid as my guide. So I'm only going to have this color in this section, and then I'm going to create some sort of a line. I am deciding that I am going to make some polka dots. All right, so there's my first type of line. And let's see, maybe I'll do yellow in here, so I'm tracing. Just inside this square, so I have to think about the square. It takes a little bit of thought to make this happen, and then I'm going to do some striped lines. I'm trying to be very thoughtful when I'm making these lines. I'm not just randomly making them. I'm trying to space them out the same space, and I am trying to make it nice and neat. Notice I'm going over it a couple times because I want it to be a little bit thicker than maybe this marker wants to make it. There. So there's my striped design. And now I'm going to fast forward this. I'm just going to keep creating some designs and you can watch. All right, so here is my completed colored in leaf design. Notice all the different lines that I made. Some of them I repeated more than one time, and that is okay for you to do too. And it's nice and bright and colorful. Next, I am going to work on the black background, which is also going to be filled with patterns. And I will demonstrate that for you. All right, so with my black Sharpie marker, I am going to start making patterns in the rest of the grid. So a different pattern for each grid. All right. All right, so here is our completed design. I think to add a little visual interest, we are going to do some water painting. So we're going to paint just over the colored parts of this project, so just in the leaf, and just to create a little bit more interest, we're just going to add water over each section and turn this marker into a little bit of watercolor. Not to erase our lines, but just to enhance them. So go over just one section at a time so the colors don't bleed together. That may happen anyways, just slightly. Oops, I see where I missed a little spot there. All right, and here is our completed piece. It's all dry now, and it dried pretty, it brightened it up after it was dried. So I can't wait to see how yours turn out.